Welcome back. You're still watching the news review right here on Power Breakfast on Citizen TV with me, Fred Ndimuli. Joining me in studio now is Silvana Sosoro, MP Mugirango South. Good morning, Karibu Sana.
Good morning.
To help us look at the headlines this morning, of course, 8-hour-long ordeal in Highway Terror. That's the big one on the Standard. On the Daily Nation, hunted man, fight to sack Maraga begins. And we could start there. As a lawyer, your colleague here, one of your learned friends, Adrian Kamodo Njenga, who we've hosted on this panel for a while, wants 7 commissioners of the Judicial Service Commission led by Chief Justice David Maraga removed for what he says are serious violations of the Constitution and the law, incompetence and gross misconduct. Now, this is a little-known lawyer, and this Nation on the front page seems to suggest that he could be acting on his own or as a spearhead of powerful political forces. And just a few weeks ago, I think last week, we were discussing about the possibility that CJ Maraga could be removed from office, that he could be replaced anytime. And there has even been suggestions in other quarters that who could be his possible replacement. The name of the former AG, Gibe Muigai, who resigned from his position a few weeks back, has come up. Are we seeing a script playing out, that this is something that has already been organized, it's just now being implemented, that it's not about to stop?
Yeah, we actually, within very interesting times of political settlement and, settling political scores using very funny channels. And in as much as this matter hasn't officially been brought to the House Committee on Legal Affairs, and of course when it's brought, the issue of sub judice could arise when we discuss it again all over. But again, it's very important for every Kenyan to know that this is actually a political witch hunt. And there is no apology to that. When we say it's a political witch hunt, it is actually a true position of political witch hunt. It all started when the CJ Maraga, nullified the first presidential election of the August 8th. And it's on record, right from the head of state, saying that we shall revisit. So I'm telling Kenyans that this is part of revisiting.
Okay. But what we are seeing now is that this petition is to remove members of the Judicial Service Commission. Now, what does that mean? Because, okay, fine, some people might not understand. Does removing the CJ from the
commission,
JSC, what does it mean? What does it imply? Let
me take Kenyans to the law. Commissioners are actually offices that are provided for in the Constitution of Kenya. And particularly the Judicial Service Commission, which is constituted of several members from different backgrounds. The CJ sits there as the chairman. The removal of the commissioners is provided for under Article 251 of the Constitution of Kenya, which lays down the structures and the grounds for dismissal. One of the grounds is gross violation of the Constitution, which one must prove. Misconduct, bankruptcy, those kind of things. They are provided under Article 51. And I'm inviting Kenyans to go through that. And then you ask yourself whether indeed all those commissioners or either of those commissioners has committed any of those violations. Now, upon finding reason to file to bring a complaint against any commissioner, and not just Judicial Service Commission, any other commission, those are the normal laid grounds. You file the same or you submit the same to the Committee on Judicial Affairs in Parliament, on Legal Affairs in Parliament. The Committee on Legal Affairs in Parliament takes charge, investigates, sits down, investigates. Although today it will be read in the plenary as a petition that has been received by the Speaker of the National Assembly. And upon the Legal Committee making recommendation or finding reason or agreeing with the petitioner, if there is gross misconduct or either of those, they will table the report to the House. And they will also submit this report to the President of the Republic. The President then will appoint a tribunal. And when he is appointing the tribunal at that particular period, none of them should actually be working. They will be suspended on half salary.
So automatically, if a tribunal is formed consequent to this petition for the removal of these members from the Judicial Service Commission, it automatically means that they should stop working even as Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice.
No.
Yeah.
They'll only stop working as commissioners. If one wants to remove, but you see, that's a long process that is starting. But if you want now to remove the Chief Justice now, specifically the Chief Justice, we now go to Article 168 of the Constitution, which
so
now provides for
this process cannot be used.
No, you can't use that one now to
this
remove
is just
the Chief
to remove
Justice.
the commissioners.
Exactly. You are now not part of the commissioners. But you see, you're already laying ground for the removal of the Chief Justice. Because now, if you really do not have the Judicial Service Commission, then that means that if they are all ousted, and of course the process of having the new commissioners take charge, and the chairperson of the commissioner should actually, the Judicial Service Commission should be the Chief Justice. So clearly you're already laying ground to make sure that it's not. Exactly. Okay. But of course, even if it is a bit too long, it needs also another commission, another tribunal, which is chaired by the Speaker of the National Assembly, which has got 3 judges, experienced judges, who served not less than 15 years from common law jurisdictions, which has an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, one advocate of the High Court of Kenya who served for more than 15 years, who is practiced for 15 years or more. So those kind of things.
Let's welcome Didmas Barasa MP Kiminini.
Yes.
To the panel. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa. We're discussing the top story on the front page of the Daily Nation. It's also the biggest story on Citizen TV this morning. Hunted man, a fight to sack Maraga begins. This petition filed by lawyer Adrian Kamodo Njenga, seeking to have 7 members of the Judicial Service Commission removed, including the Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice. And of course, your colleague Silvana Sosoro says this is just one script, already scripted. It's a bigger plot. It's just already playing out. And yes, by removing the CJ and the DCJ from the JSC, it is just laying ground for the removal of the Chief Justice as the head of the judiciary. Do you agree?
I don't agree, because myself, firstly, I haven't seen the petition. And of course, the law is clear that every Kenyan has a right to petition Parliament. And as to whether the petition that we have read on papers that is being received by Parliament, as to whether it has merit or not, I think we'll wait and see the petition itself. And the standing orders are clear that once such petition is received on the floor of the National Assembly, then the relevant committee will look into it and do recommendations, either dismissing it, or if it has merit, then they will do a report, then the whole House will be able to debate about it. But nonetheless, because we are in politics, and you see even in normal life, when people have problems, they blame the problem the devil. When you drink and you are drunk, driving disorderly, you have an accident, you blame the devil. And I think
so the
some wannabe politicians will be quick to link the petition to the Jubilee or to the government, but without necessarily understanding the law, which gives every Kenyan a right to petition Parliament. Tomorrow, my friend, if somebody doesn't like the way you are shaving, and decide to petition Parliament. Whether that is flimsy, but the Parliament will have to receive such petition and either dismiss it or discuss it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm looking at a tweet here by Nelson Harvey, at Nelson Harvey, is a lawyer. Dismantling of JSC and fixing of judiciary has commenced, and all commissioners are targeted. CJ David Maraga, DCJ Mwilu, Judges Warsame, Muchelule, Magistrate Ominde, and LSK representatives, Professor Tomo Jienda and Mercy Deche. He seems to be in agreement with you. But now looking at the timelines, because fine, according to the script you say is in existence, that this is just the beginning, that probably the main aim is to remove David Maraga from that position as Chief Justice eventually. But given that now this is a petition for the removal of these people or the replacement, ousting them from the JSC, how long do we expect such a process to take? It has to go, as you mentioned, the processes going through Parliament, the committee, the House, taking a report to the President, forming a tribunal, then after that now starting another process for the removal of CJ. How long would such a process take?
Let me first say good morning to my colleague, Honorable Didmas, and hope that he's here on clear permission from the State House, because as I said, they must seek clearance from the office on the Hill as Jubilee members. But then let me say this, that the Constitution of Kenya does not really provide the exact timeline for having the whole process complete. It depends on the House programs in regard to the committee that handles legal affairs. The Constitution only provides for 30 days for the President to act upon receiving the report. But all the other process of investigations and everything, now that one now is left for the committee in the House. This is just like any other court process.
But it would take on average a week, 2 weeks?
Investigations can't take such a short time. Give it a month, probably, because, like, for example, if this petition has been brought to the House today, the Speaker will read it in the plenary in the House today and inform the House that there is such a petition, and it will be handed over to the right committee, the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs. Then now, the legal committee will take charge, will take over, they'll start investigating. We do not know the number of witnesses the petitioner has, so we cannot really define the exact timeline for the same.
But upon finishing a month?
It can take maybe a month or even two, because again, it depends on the witnesses, because the reports and everything.
We're trying to picture, if at all the JSC was to be ousted, it cannot happen tomorrow.
It can't happen tomorrow.
It cannot happen next week.
It's a long process.
It is a long process.
And by the I need to say this, that it is actually not static, that the President will have the commissioner suspended. The Constitution provides for, it actually states may have them suspended.
So they cannot do what?
Exactly. So really, but our motivation is brought forth by the sentiments that have been made by political leaders. And I think my colleagues should actually stop being a sycophant. And I have always insisted on that. We need to, when it comes to matters Kenyans, we need to debate soberly without really looking at our political inclination, that probably somebody is looking at me and stuff. Just like yesterday when I saw people say, minority leadership saying that they'll punish the members of the NASA coalition for vetting for vetting the ambassadors. That is a committee that I sit in. I mean, that is hogwash. I mean, we shouldn't be working that way. You see, that is the NASA top leadership. But I'm telling them, what is that? So those are the things that I'm telling my colleague. When it comes to matters Kenyans, we need to be debating soberly and look at it not just on the face value. We need to look at it in the next 5-10 years. What kind of precedents are we setting?
And we'll come back to discuss those issues happening in NASA in a while. But Didmas Barasa, of course, it is on record that the President said he will revisit the issue with the judiciary. A couple of weeks back, your party Secretary General wrote to the CJ and accused the judiciary of bias. This is a week later. We are seeing another lawyer now filing a petition through Parliament, which enjoys the majority, super numbers by the Jubilee Party. So if at all they want to pass this, they can do it. Targeting the same individuals within the judiciary. Don't you think that this could be seen in that way, that it is a bigger plot, that the judiciary is under siege? Why is it purely coincidental that all these things are happening at the same time? That the Jubilee is unhappy with the judiciary, then a lawyer comes and files such a petition at the same time?
I don't think if the lawyer speaks or acts on behalf of the President or the head of state, he may have done it in his own volition. He has his own reasons. And I think before we begin drawing conclusions as to whether this is a scheme, is a plot to remove JSC, we should wait and see the contents of the petition itself. And even as we just read on the newspapers that,
the intention of the petition is very clear. It's to remove them from the JSC. It is not something that's hidden within the petition. That's the
you see, like when I said in the beginning of my opening of my remarks that every Kenyan has a right to petition Parliament on whichever matter that are within the Constitution, and I think will look at it. It's not that I believe we have numbers we're just going to approve it. We are going to look at it in terms of merit, in terms of its making sense. Then we'll be able to proceed with it.
But you agree that Jubilee as a party is already unhappy with these individuals? You've already stated.
Yeah, we are unhappy.
Yes, you're unhappy with the CJ Maraga and the entire judiciary.
We were unhappy with the ruling which they delivered, and equally even NASA themselves are also unhappy. And in fact, if you look at the way these activities has happened, the immediate party that has been aggrieved is NASA, because of the 26 repeat presidential elections, which Jubilee we accepted and we moved on.
But at least Jubilee has come out officially, and that's the question, because when you accuse the judiciary of bias, yes, it is only practical that you seek to fix that bias, that going forward that will no longer exist. Don't you think that Jubilee is intent on ensuring that the judiciary is no longer biased?
I don't think so, because as we moved on long time ago, and I think the fact that some leaders in Jubilee said that we shall revisit or something else, whichever how it was interpreted, it doesn't therefore mean that anybody who comes up with a petition against the JSC, now you think now is the Jubilees moving forward. If as a government, as a party, we want to petition the removal of Chief Justice, we'll do it.
Are you speaking with authority when you say that this is not related to Jubilee in any way?
We don't have to look for a lawyer practicing I don't know from where to advance our agenda. If we want to do it, we'll do it ourselves. I mean, what blocks us from doing it? Coming out open ourselves and following the law. Okay. So, I mean, the fact that the lawyer who has petitioned Parliament, we don't know we even don't know him. It doesn't mean that he's working on ourselves. He's working on his own behalf, maybe on other parties.
Adrian Kamoto Njenga, the lawyer who's filed this petition, I've hosted him on this panel before. And another Jubilee lawyer will be joining the panel shortly, the senator from Maraga County, Irongo Kangata. It will be interesting to hear exactly his views on this matter. Yes, that's the biggest story we're looking at today. Hunted man, fight to sack Maraga begins. Yes, Bwana Osoro.
Let me inform Kenyans that the lawyer in question here, the lawyer who's actually petitioned Parliament for the same, was actually a Jubilee candidate for Kiharu constituency against Ndindi Nyoro. So it's actually so clear that this is a Jubilee issue. It is not, there is no other way you actually, whichever angle one wants to look at it, this is a Jubilee matter.
Okay.
The lawyer, tried to vie for Kiharu constituency against Ndindi Nyoro, and was, of course, kicked out, or rather, humbled by Ndindi Nyoro in the Kiharu constituency, the constituency that was formerly led by my learned friend, Senator.
Yes.
So clearly, this is a Jubilee war. It has nothing to do with the legal framework. It is actually a Jubilee war, and the president is equally on record.
Senator Irongo Kangata from Maraga County, good morning. He finally gets to join the panel this morning. Karibu sana, Senator.
Thank you.
We're discussing the top story on the front on the Daily Nation this morning. It has to do with a fight to sack Maraga. And it's that petition filed by lawyer Njenga Kamoto, who now I learn had tried a stint at politics through the Jubilee Party. Bwana Didmas Osoro, your colleague in Jubilee. Didmas Barasa, sorry for that. Didmas Barasa, your colleague in Jubilee, says that this is in no way in connection with Jubilee. This is, I assume, a member of the Jubilee Party who has filed a petition, coming quick, very fast on the heels of that letter by Raphael Tuju accusing the judiciary of bias. We've seen the complaints by Jubilee. The president himself last year said he will revisit that issue. All these things, are you saying it is not a script that is just playing out, that this was already planned and all these things are happening according to plan?
Well, the fact is, so far I'm not aware of any official Jubilee plan to kick out Mr. Maraga. However, that does not mean that we support the judiciary currently that is being led by Mr. Maraga. Personally, I don't support it at all.
What about as a party?
Well, as a party, we have not taken any position except the letter that was fired by our Secretary General, Mr. Raphael Tuju, which we do support that, the position contained in that letter.
So you do agree that some work needs to be done on this judiciary to ensure it works better the way Jubilee would have wanted, because you feel the way they're working is biased?
Yes, there's no doubt about it. As to whether the judiciary has been biased against the interest of Kenyans, not the interest of Jubilee per se, but the interest of Kenyans. That one I have no doubt about. Personally, I have so many judgments that I strongly false.
The letter by Raphael Tuju was clear that the bias was against Jubilee as a party.
Well, it's only that the interest of Jubilee party coincide with the public interest. So therefore, it's only, it makes sense for us to complain. Yes, once we complain, we shall be portraying that those interests, they do coincide with the best interest of the party.
So this petition filed by Njenga Kamodo, do you think it aligns with what Jubilee wants? Do you think that this is what Jubilee would want, that probably even if he is not filing on behalf of Jubilee, but Jubilee would support such a petition?
Well, the truth is, the Jubilee party cannot lose sleep if there is an overhaul of the judiciary. There's no doubt about it, because we strongly believe the direction the judiciary is taking is not a positive direction. There's no doubt about it. However, if Jubilee wants to put its arsenal towards taming, sorry, let me not use that word, well, towards fighting judiciary, I doubt as to whether this would be the route. We would go head on. We would start various mechanisms straightforward. But for now, we are yet to do that. I think for now, the government is busy working on the agenda for. We are not interested in other shenanigans, but be that as it may, we feel there's something wrong with our judiciary. And I think Kenyans need to have that kind of a conversation. What do we do to remedy the problems that are currently bedeviling judiciary?
Silvana Susoro, is it a different thing, what the senator is saying, as opposed to what Bwana Masbarasa is saying?
Well, they are reading from the same page, using different vocabularies. And of course, as Jubilee, they equally on record as saying that if they want to host the commissioners of the judiciary, or clear overhaul of the judiciary, they'll go head on. I do not really understand what my learned colleague is talking about. Mheshimiwa is talking about hitting it head on. You know, yet we've got laid down structures of removal of commissioners of the Chief Justice, and actually the candidate for Jubilee, the one who's actually petitioning the matter here, is following the same under Article 251. There is no other shortcut. There is no other head-on. This is the clear head-on that we are talking about. And it's quite unfortunate that, you know, I'll understand when the Honorable Didmas is talking about having an issue with the judiciary, or, you know, because he'll have to see what the party leadership is talking about. He's not a lawyer. But I'll be worried when a lawyer talks about having a challenge with the judiciary. I'll really get worried of that, because clearly you really want, you know, what is happening here is that every politician who is inclined with the Jubilee side wants ruling that favor them. And they're only looking at the things politically. They're forgetting that we've got ways of appeal. We've got ways one can raise an issue. You know, this thing is actually brought forth, has been brought forth by the happenings that happened in the August 8th election. None of these guys were very happy by the nullification of the presidential election. You know, but my worry is this, that really, if we had issues with the judgment, and we had issues with everything then, and we went back to elections, and they claimed to have won. The very same court upheld their election. They still have that casting in them that, you know, okay, fine, we need to revisit this thing. Now, on the issues of the judgments or the rulings that have been made by the other courts, the subordinate courts, the High Court, all the other courts, clearly, we've got ways of appeal. You can appeal if there is fault in fact and fault in law. Every lawyer knows that. If the High Court has faulted, go to the Court of Appeal. If the Court of Appeal has faulted, go to the Supreme Court. But the issue here is, the Miguna story brought this thing. They want to take a person out of the jurisdiction that he was held, take this person to the court in Kajiado, push the court to have him charged there, And if that one is given leeway, then they say, okay, courts are working.
We'll discuss that
is what is going
issue.
And it's very wrong.
But I did Ms. Barasa, your colleague here in Jubilee, the senator from Maraga, says that yes, Jubilee is not happy with the judiciary. You are not very clear on that. You said you are not aware if the party is unhappy with the judiciary, and it could just be a sentiment or sentiments from particular leaders. But your colleague agrees that Jubilee party feels aggrieved by this judiciary. And yes, Jubilee, and I'll use his words, that Jubilee would not lose sleep if the judiciary, these individuals are actually ousted from the JSC. Do you wish to change your statement?
No, really. Like what I said before, that as a party, if we want to petition JSC, we don't have to go and look for such lawyers that even I'm not aware of.
But he is a member
and
of
I also said, doesn't matter. You see, the fact that I am black doesn't mean that I'm a member of ODM. That's what I think my friends are reading from. You know, the fact that you have a lawyer who have petitioned Parliament, if this man comes from Central, it doesn't automatically mean that is a member of the Jubilee party.
He was a candidate, a Jubilee candidate.
We had so many people who
he has to be a member of the party.
We had so many people who ran on the Jubilee party. They have since left the party. We have others even who ran on NASA. They have since left NASA. So unless you have, to me, it doesn't matter. And the fact that that person is a member of Jubilee, he doesn't mean that he only has to take a position that the party has taken. He may decide to take his own decision, legal rights, to petition Parliament with the removal of JSC. And I think we should separate facts from fiction. Okay. And be able to look at something ideologically. Okay. Because today, in my constituency, we have so many people who are members of the Jubilee Party. But because they are not members of Parliament, they are not bound by any code of conduct of the party. They can decide to do their own things, which they think is within their own rights. And that doesn't mean that therefore that this is the position of the party.
Okay. So this is not the position of the Jubilee Party. Let's stop it there. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll look at a lot more headlines, including that one as well.